Hi everyone, it's Kim and welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. Welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. I am trying something new this month and doing a mid-month check-in instead of just one giant reading wrap-up at the end of the month. I'm not sure why. I've seen a lot of other booktubers do this and I just thought maybe it creates more content. I don't honestly know. There's been a lot going on in my world, so I did want to share some of the good books that I have been reading. So where I am so far this month, I have read 3 books and I have 2 books I'm currently in the middle of. So the first book I wanted to talk about is Just Eat. This is Gary Estabrook's newest book, new 2021 publication, and it's one reporter's quest for a weight loss regimen that works. I actually won this in a giveaway on Instagram, and I actually listened to the audiobook. I'm finding right now that I'm listening to a lot of my nonfiction food books versus reading them, which is fine. I mean, anyone who tells you that an audiobook is not a book is a complete liar. So the physical book comes in around 195 pages and the audiobook came in at about 5 hours. I'm actually doing a full review of this book, which will be out in the next couple of weeks, because I saw one of my fans in the comments say they really wanted to hear my thoughts on Just Eat. So this is high level. I really enjoyed it. Very relatable book, and I am excited to give you my thoughts in full detail. I will probably be filming it right after this video, so if you see the Daughter of an Immigrant shirt many times, it's Sunday morning, Dan's still sleeping, it's time to film. So the other book I finished is Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake. This is by Alexis Hall, who is the author of The Boyfriend Material. I've had this book on my shelves. This is a fairly recent publication, but when we had our book buffet wrap up, Amritza told me that she loved this book. So of all the fiction books I still have on my TBR, I pulled this off and read this. I read it about a chapter a night and I found this book delightful. It's a mix. Essentially, Rosaline Palmer goes on the Great British Baking Show. She got into Cambridge and then dropped out when she found out she was pregnant with her daughter. And she is a bisexual protagonist, which I'll admit, this is my first time reading with a bisexual protagonist. And I learned a lot about the stereotypes and prejudice bisexual people endure, especially bisexual women. And that was really new for me and I really loved it. I think Alexis Hall, obviously, not obviously, excuse me. I am not bisexual. I am cis, female, heterosexual in a marriage. So this is not an experience I have experienced myself. So I looked at it from a moment of sympathy versus empathy, and I thought it was handled very well. But again, it is not my experience to rate or really, not rate, but like objectively say whether or not Alexis Hall handled that writing well. So, you know, feel free to leave me comments down below. But in general, in terms of a protagonist, I really loved her. I loved both of her love interests. Some of the twists were a little predictable. I mean, it's a contemporary romance, but it was a delay. I was reading it at night. It had me actually laughing out loud at certain points. And I'm glad I finished this now because the next season of the Great British Baking Show at least is becoming available in the United States on Netflix, September 24th. So yay! So the third book I read so far this month, I actually don't, well, I have. It's wrapped up on my unwrapped pile. And that is A Brewer's Tale. I'll put the picture right here. So earlier this month, I helped my big sister and brother-in-law move into their new apartment. They were moving for the first time in 7 years. So Dan and I drove from Buffalo, New York to Oneonta. It's about 4 hours. And then we helped load the car because they said, "Power lifter, sister, come help us." So my brother-in-law is a mailman and he's thrown out his back a few times, and my older sister had just sprained her ankle. So they really did need some help. And I know my family probably thinks it's ridiculous I drove that far, but I'm a powerlifter. I've been a powerlifter for 6 years. So me moving furniture was way more efficient than watching people hobble around trying to do it. It was a lot of fun. But sorry, I digress. Why The Brewer's Tale. So when Dan and I drive together, we try to pick audiobooks that we both will enjoy together. And he happened to have found it on my Audible. I must have bought it earlier in the year or last year, because I'm trying not to use Audible. I don't want to really support Amazon, but I already had it in my library. So he put it on. It was about 5.5 hours. I finished it. We got through most of it ourselves, and then I finished it at home, which Dan has access to my Audible library. The Brewer's Tale is about a journalist, and he is more like a food critic. He knows how to describe beer, but he doesn't know much about beer. So it's really his journey, and it's his accounts of learning everything he can about beer, how it's made, where it came from. So part history, part food. It's definitely food history, excuse me. But I think what the book struggled from is that sometimes it got very, very scientific down to certain strands, certain DNA. And there were moments where that was very boring. I don't know how else to say. I should caveat, I am not someone who drinks by choice. It doesn't play nice with some of the medication I'm on. Dan loves beer. He works in the beer industry, and even he found it a little too detailed for what he thought the book was about, because A Brewer's Tale, the front, the back jacket really describes this more as learning from small brewmasters. So we thought we were going to get more interviews or following specific brewmasters. The book does get there later in the book. About, I'd say 2/3 of the way, there's a shift in tone where you are with a specific brewmaster who is making a specific strand of hops for specific reasons. That logic makes a lot of sense. Oh, I want this varietal. I went all the way to Africa and the Middle East to find it. Here is why. Much more fascinating. 2 chapters about carbohydrates and the breakdowns in wheat and hops and stuff. Way too boring for me. I definitely think there's an audience for that book. It just wasn't for me. Even for Dan, a little too much for him. Okay, so that is what I finished reading. And now very quickly, I'll tell you what I'm still currently reading. I am reading I am reading The Secret Life of Lobsters. I have about 2.5 hours left of this audiobook. This is probably one of the first books I ever bought at Open Books now that I think about it. And I got it for $1.99. This is a little bit of an older book. This came out in 2004 officially. And this is by Trevor Corson. I have learned so much about the lobster. I will do a whole review for you. This is definitely much more nature writing / the business of being a lobsterman. I find this, I'm really enjoying it. There's a lot of weird stuff I've learned. I can't wait to do a full review for you. Also, still reading seafood related books. I am making my way through Oishi. This is the history of sushi, and I am 70 pages through. This book is about 175 pages. It's beautiful. There's lots of great photography in here, and I am learning quite a lot. I actually posted a picture to my Instagram where I looked down at my feet and realized I had sushi shoes that I have from Tom's. Not at all sponsor, but Tom's, send me shoes. So I took a picture with my sushi shoes in my book, and it actually performed really well on Instagram. It was kind of funny. I like to be a pretty curated person, so to just kind of be like, hey, look at my shoes and my book, it was apparently very well received. So those are the 2 nonfiction books I'm reading. I do find that I do like wow, that was a lot of incoherentness. Apologies. I have found that I really am enjoying just having free range of all of the fiction books on my shelves that I want to read. I have about 2 shelves, the other shelf is behind you, of fiction books that I'm reading through. If you haven't already, I have a whole video about these new bookshelves that I put up, and a little bit of an office reorganization that I'll link in the cards and down below. So you'll know what bookshelf I'm referencing, but there's a couple different fiction books that have caught my eye that I think I want to start this month. One is a reread, Kiss My Cupcake. It might or might not be one of the many books you could receive in a blind date with a book box, just saying. And then the other ones are Fairy Godmothered Inc. and The Kindred Spirits Supper Club. So these were buy one, get one 50% off at Barnes & Noble's. Yes, I have a problem. The other nonfiction book I would like to start reading is Conscious Capitalism. This is written by the co-CEO of the Whole Foods Market, and it's the Liberating the Heroic Spirit of Business. So this is, for context, Conscious Capitalism, Kim, that doesn't sound like a food writing book. It is not. It is, however, relevant to what I do. I'm going to be a speaker next month at the Collaborate Summit in Rochester, New York. I'll be doing the talk virtually, but the whole purpose of the talk is how can nonprofits and for-profit business come together and help social good and do good? my small business, Read It and Eat, I know I talk about it a lot, but it's really important to me to mention that every box that's sold comes with a donation component. I try to pick a new nonprofit every quarter, and that nonprofit, I'm usually trying to partner with food-related nonprofits. I want to help fight hunger. I don't know, help fight hunger. I don't know how else to say that. Fight food scarcity, fight food deserts, food apartheid. And I'm a for-profit business with a nonprofit component. Essentially, I next year would like to be applying for an official B certification. A B certification means that you have a certain criteria that you have to hit, and you are giving back to the community in forms of donations. Your employees, which I have no other employees besides me, have certain compensations, certain programs and opportunities. So I am super excited about this talk. It's on October 14th. I'll leave a full blurb down below. And my talk, which is a 15-minute talk and then a 30-minute workshop, I pre-record the talk, so I will eventually post the talk on my channel after the conference so that the conference is the premiere of the talk. And it is about the millennial dollar and who I support and where my dollar goes. Why does that matter? And we saw a lot of this happen last year with the tragedy and murder of George Floyd and just Black Lives Matter. And the millennial demographic, and now younger, like my parents every year wrote a check to like the American Heart Association, and that was their donation every year. It was a substantial sum. More and more though, I think people are interested in how little purchases every day can help other people, whether it's supporting small businesses, investing their money in the local economy, their community's economy, and how to give back. And I think that's the model that new businesses need to take to really capture that new audience. So I apologize. I'm in a mid-month book review, and now I'm talking about my talk next month, but I'm very, very excited for the opportunity. I'm excited. Hopefully I can meet other nonprofits that want to work with the Read It and Eat model so that I can continue expanding this donation component outside of just Kim Googling nonprofits that speak to my mission. Anyway, this concludes my mid-month wrap-up. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a full review of The Secret Life of Lobsters, Oishi, maybe some of my foodie romance books. Do you want a review of foodie romance books? I could definitely do that too. If you haven't already, I would love for you to hit like and subscribe. And thank you. A special thank you. As of this morning, I have now broken the 600 subscriber mark at like 612. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. I'm very aware I'm hyper niche. I talk about food a lot, so your support means the world to me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.